Couldn't guess is about Killer Moth because let's just face it, he's absolutely goated, and I'm gonna explain why. First
Tell him
off,
again.
Killer Moth is pretty much the biggest struggler in DC Comics. He's always just been a guy that's longed to be noticed, but no matter the effort put in, he was always a screw up. I also really love his aesthetic, and a lot of other people do as well.
You think it looks stupid, purple, green, and orange, but somehow he does it. Like, that man's amazing. And like he said, he is an underdog. Undermoth. Undermoth. That might have been a better name. Never
I
mind.
remember liking the character as soon as I saw him in Lego Batman, and I remember wanting to know everything about the character. This bumbling buffoon that takes on the characteristics of a moth has always been interesting to me, so I figured I'd give a brief summarization of his history so that if y'all like him too, you can just watch this vid to get the gist on who he is and some significant things he's done. Although the list is incredibly short because he's never really done anything too crazy, only ever really in the background to serve other villains' stories. But that's another reason why I mess with Killer Moth, because he's one of the most underrated Bat.
That's because his presence enhances the other villains. Like, without that, it'd be such inconsistencies. There's no other villains with good backstories, good, just good anything. They're just like Bane. Bane's boring, you know. The pit. I know that's just Dark Knight. I'm like, come on, big roided out dude versus this shining, majestic example of a moth god.
Batman villains in his entire rogues gallery. I'd say like just above the Eraser in my book, but anyways, let's get down to business. Drury Walker was in essence a pretty shitty criminal that was known all over Gotham to be otherwise extremely unreliable for literally anything. Batman himself even says that Killer Moth was never very good at being a career criminal.
Batman also said he had a cool costume.
Hell, the whole Bat family collectively shits on
Look it up, I'm not lying.
him on a daily basis. Tim Drake thinks of Killer Moth as a real
I don't want to hear no critique from the one Robin who literally got beat by Two-Face. And Two-Face looked him in the face and said, "You're trash, kid." No, Tim, no.
lightweight. Dick Grayson thinks he's a loser with a glass jaw, and Batgirl always thought that Killer Moth was always just a crazy, stupid goofball who flew too close to the light. But the thing that made me feel bad about Killer Moth the most was when Batman pretty much said that when Killer Moth breaks out of Arkham or Blackgate, he doesn't even bother tracking him down, believing the police are skilled enough to handle him whenever he surfaces themselves. The reason I find that a little sad,
And therefore, every single police officer mortality is on you, Batman. It is on you. You decided to let them go out there. You was like, he not a threat, and then he gonna like cocoon somebody or something. I don't know. Eat their clothes. Be butt ass naked. Like, that's probably worse than like getting your spine broken. Like, you out there, like somebody your whole outfit. You nothing but your jimmies. You know, if it's cold, get hypothermia. You know. That's not good for you.
That is because Walker legit inspired his entire Killer Moth
like
persona
that.
off of Batman to be the anti-Batman. Bro even went the extra mile of making a moth cave, a cocoon gun, the Mothmobile, and his very own moth signal. Topping it all off with creating the billionaire playboy persona called Cameron Van Clear and owning his very own moth mansion. Now, you may ask yourself, how did Killer Moth fund all of this, given I just told all of you that he is the worst criminal in Gotham? Well, he actually stole a ton of money from several gangs and created several loans at different banks he could
W move. Robbery and debt. That is the way, chat. That is the way. Like, you can just like take all the money, and you know what? Fuck paying it back. Just change your name. You know, move out Alaska. Come back on a different identity. Get facial plastic surgery. But that kind of sounded wrong. Facial plastic surgery. Let's ignore that. Let's ignore that mishap. You know?
never possibly pay back to fund his supervillain career. Racking up an immeasurable amount of debt, the federal government and the Gotham County Sheriff's Department then foreclosed on the Moth Mansion due to Killer Moth refusing to pay his property taxes. And Killer Moth subsequently lost everything before he even begun his career as a supervillain. Seeing no way out, he delved further into the Killer Moth persona and first attempted to be a hired supervillain that had helped bank robbers and so on, as long as he had a cut of their take. But would usually usually end up caught by Batman before he could finish the job. It wasn't until a couple years later that Killer Moth had an epiphany and came up with the plan to extort protection money from the same Gotham millionaires he'd once socialized with as Cameron Van Cleer. And if they didn't accept his proposal, Killer Moth would brutally assault them. Eventually, Killer Moth worked his way up to Bruce Wayne and left a letter for Bruce demanding
I don't think that's a good idea.
$100,000. But after Bruce Wayne pretty much laughed at Killer Moth's threat, Killer Moth attempted to assassinate.
Hey, he did the one thing Joker couldn't do until the Killing Joke. He actually made Batman laugh. Is that not a W? Is that not a win? That's a win. A win is a win. I'm sorry, a win is a win.
Bruce Wayne, but was stopped by Batgirl. After his assassination attempt was thwarted by Batgirl, word quickly spread all over Gotham that Killer Moth was just a joke. And no matter what Killer Moth attempted to do, whether it be assembling a ragtag team of villains with the likes of Ratcatcher, Victor Z, whether it be
I ain't gonna lie, this picture is really heartbreaking, but I genuinely gotta ask, how are you crying through the mask? Like, I would assume like those are lenses and not like. That's like asking how they're able to make facial expressions. I can say like the molds over your eyebrows and what, but how much tears are you really crying? Like this man, powerful emotions. Respect the powerful emotions.
Be assembling a ragtag team of villains with the likes of Ratcatcher, Victor Zsasz, Solomon Grundy, and Firefly to fight off Gotham's heroes, or being a hired gun, or turning into an actual fucking moth. Killer Moth never got a second glance and continues to grow more and more irrelevant with each passing day, continuously fading into obscurity. But maybe it isn't such.
I don't see that happening. Me personally, I met Killer Moth. Well, not met. You know, I don't know the guy personally. I'd like to. You know, yeah, it's like get your autograph, sir. Now, like I was first introduced to them during the Teen Titans series, like before they were talking about booty scoots and good songs about waffles and chicken. You know, like. That's probably the only things about the new Teen Titans that I have. Like the songs, they be slapping, but no more booty shaking. But that Killer Moth who had a daughter named Kitty and like he blackmailed Robin into fucking dating her, which is he's a great dad. He did the opposite, well the exact same thing as a shotgun wedding, but like instead of a wedding you're gonna date my daughter, or die. I mean she wasn't ugly. She just she wasn't ugly.
Such a bad thing for Killer Moth at the end of the day. Because in one of my favorite short stories about Killer Moth, after all the brutal fights with Batman, we follow a Killer Moth now just trying to get by in life. In the comic Gotham City Villains Anniversary, Killer Moth in the beginning thinks about how Gotham's known for the great villains such as Two-Face, Bane, or maybe the Joker. And Killer Moth throughout his life spent a lot of time trying to become as great as those guys. But it never ever went well being Killer Moth. He either committed financial suicide trying to become Batman's opposite, or he turned into a monstrous monster.
How did you know Batman was a billionaire? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, this guy, let's not sleep on this guy. Come on, man. Like, when Batman first popped up, he was giving Batman all the issues, all the problems. This man has 100,000 IQ plus strategy. Like, this man has the ability to nuke the earth with his simple ideas manifesting from his mind. Like, look at him. Look at that beautiful face and those sexy mandibles. Ugh.
All Killer Moth ever truly amounted to was a third-rate bad guy who'd make rent by scrounging off the leftovers of other criminals when Batman took them out. For a lot of nights, Killer Moth was stuck in a dark place, realizing that he'll never be one of the greats, and that he's pretty much a glorified parasite. But one night while drinking his sorrows away, he bumped into Harley Quinn. And Harley Quinn told him that he would have to let go of the life he had planned to find the life that'd be waiting for him. Killer Moth at first was
I ain't gonna lie, that's powerful advice. Y'all should listen to Harley Quinn. Like she's the best role model for like walking throughout life, and she's a psychologist. You know, so she knows what she's talking about. She's not stupid, and it's like, come on, man, she's smarter than Joker. Take that advice. Like, in anything she says in a comic book, just alright. Look, I know it's gonna be somebody that actually like take what I say literally. Please don't do that. I'm not trying to get in trouble. So please, come on, man. Let's be reasonable. Anyway,
taken aback, and in that moment, Killer Moth thought to himself that he is a parasite, but a fantastic one if anything. Seeing Batman no longer as an obstacle in his path, but a meal ticket. Because someone's gotta pick up the hundreds of dollars falling on the streets, or the paintings that go missing after a thwarted museum heist. So long as Batman is there stopping the greats, Killer Moth will always be around the corner to pick up
What
some of
did
the
I say?
leftovers.
The
And
goat.
sure, it may not be a glamorous life, and Killer Moth may never be one of the greats himself,
It
but
put
what's the
food on the
point of
table.
living if you're never gonna be happy? Ending that little short story with a Killer Moth content with his position in life. Now, there aren't like a ton of other Killer Moth stories.
Do you think it's people like with pet cats and just because Selena Kyle exists, they name their pet cat like Catwoman? Like it can get creepy the more you think about it, but I'm just like throwing that out there.
Out there, but a couple I really liked were The Misfits, Bug and Insects, and Batgirl Year One. All really good stories that center around Killer Moth, in my opinion. Misfits is a story where Killer Moth leads a ragtag team of, you guessed it, misfits, comprising of Catman, Calendar Man, and the Chancer. The whole motivation being that the group of villains are tired of being looked at as jokey characters. So they team up to show Gotham that they are a force to be reckoned with. So they together create a diabolical plot to kidnap some of Gotham's most important figures like Bruce Wayne and Gordon, to name a few. But the whole time this happens, the Misfits bumble their way through the plan and end up proving to their hostages even further that they can't be taken seriously for the life of them. It's a pretty fun story and totally worth the read. Then there's Bug and Insects, which centers around a Killer Moth desperately just wanting to be taken seriously, but everywhere he goes, people laugh at him. Until a dude named Neuron wanting to be taken seriously, but everywhere he goes, people laugh at him.
That's not cool. That's not nice. That's not Batman. You should be biffing, punching, kicking. Like biff, wow, bam. These guys right, left, and right. And you're gonna spend your time chuckling at this guy? Come on, man. I thought you the Batman who's serious, not the Batman who laughed. I mean, like but like that's besides.
Until a dude named Neuron basically grants Killer Moth's wish, leading Killer Moth to morph into
Ew.
a monstrous moth creature. Gone the funny and light Killer Moth, and in with this new grotesque, slimy Killer Moth.
I ain't finna laugh at you
That
no more.
craves to eat flesh. This story is
See, I prefer the
absolutely
Teen Titans
amazing
version.
because it takes the goofy character of Killer Moth and turns him upside down into this horror movie monster that, like, the main character can't ever seem to get away from. How Killer Moth became normal again after this, though, I really couldn't
He really looked like a winged crypt keeper.
tell you. Maybe the Flash, like, saved his mom or something and it changed the timeline. I don't know. And finally, we have Batgirl Year One, which is quite honestly the greatest Killer Moth story ever created. The story is a retelling of the origins of Batgirl alongside Killer Moth side by side with much more flavor added in. Killer Moth in this story is trying to start up a protection racket for criminals. But the only problem is nobody wants to hire the guy because he's a moron. Not only because of his crazy getup, but his rep for being the guy that got beat. Hire the guy because he's a moron. Not only because of his
Look at that. Look at that. An absolute Chad. An absolute alpha and omega, sigma, delta, gamma. Look at him. You gonna say no to a face like that? Into a muzzle like that? Pointing at your face? I think not.
crazy getup, but his rep for being the guy that got beaten up by Batgirl. Later, Killer Moth teams up with Garfield Lynns, aka Firefly, to send Gotham a message that Killer Moth has changed. But during the duo's time together, Firefly proved to be way too evil for Killer Moth, because Firefly is a psychotic pyromaniac, literally meant to be a villain. But Killer Moth kinda lacks the capabilities to be a stone cold killer himself. Ironically, with the name like Killer Moth, he doesn't really have the makings to be a true villain, because in essence, he's not made with the right parts to be a real villain. Only ever truly being.
To be fair, you can't say that since he was pretty much roughing up all the Gotham elites and was about to clap Batman. I mean, Bruce. Come on, you just notice you never see Bruce and Batman in the same room, you know? It's just little coincidences. But yeah, he's going after Bruce. But even if he could be potentially Batman, Bruce, he did that knowing that you're going after a guy who lives in a mansion on top of a creepy ass hill who has a graveyard in his backyard, and I'm not going in anybody's house that fucking has a cemetery in their backyard. Like I don't trust that. We don't know if you're replacing or recycling the bodies in that thing every day. I don't trust that.
being a naive geek who fantasizes about being one of the greats but can never amount to that kind of level himself. Which is why he'll always be stopped by Batgirl or the Robins or Batman and never be taken seriously. Which makes this very story the perfect story for Killer Moth. To this day, this is the #1 story people point to when they think of a good Killer Moth story. And they're right. So you should definitely go check it out. Killer Moth is a goated Batman villain, and those were some of the few reasons why I think so. So I hope y'all like this video. And don't forget to leave a like and
Losers.
subscribe. And as always, I'll catch y'all on the flip side.
Yeah, that was basically Killer Moth. Make sure to like the video. Well, not just mine, but the one created by this creator. I already liked it before I what's his name? Damn. Mullet-Man Comics. I'm already subscribed. I need my comic feed to feed my comics. You know what I'm saying? Now, anyway, if you guys like the video, subscribe. If you want to become part of the family, maybe see some more reaction videos like this. I would love to, do more things like this. And if the video does well, you can expect another one very soon. All right, hope you guys have a great day and stay real.